G'day, everyone. Special one this time. I'm coming to you from Barriel, which is in San Juan province, Argentina. So a little town in the middle of nowhere, right on top of the Andes. If anyone knows any famous porphyry copper deposits in South America, it's close to El Pachon and Los Azules. So two very big, famous, undeveloped Argentine copper projects. It's the closest town, and I'm here visiting a project that I've invested in for the last year or so called Piocanis Project, owned by Pampa Metals. So, yeah, just a little change up for the intro, but it's a little bit about my situation. How are you going, Ferg?
Good, well done, man. Yeah, it's awesome that you got into that and have an angle now in Argentina to hunt around and find some opportunities there. Yeah, but no, I'm good. I'm just cruising along as normal. Yeah,
Nice.
Been beaten up this year, but yeah, it's still seen lots of opportunities. So yeah, probably a bit to talk about.
What are you seeing in the market at the moment? What do you think about Trump getting elected and just since then he's threatened tariffs, and I think I lost you, mate.
Yeah, that just froze solid there. Yeah,
it's my internet. I just got a warning about it. Yeah, so it might be a bit dodgy, mate, but we'll see what we can do. Bloody hell, here I was talking up how good Starlink was, and yeah, it's come. It hasn't lasted too long. I've just been surprised about where that thing can bloody get set up. I was just on top, literally at 4,000 meters today, where we're drilling, and the caravan that is like the just like has all the accessories for the drilling, has a satellite dish on top, just a Starlink dish, and I took an epic photo. It's just got like snow-capped mountain right next to it, snow on the ground, and then just peeled around to like a perfectly blue day, and yeah, just incredible to see like epic internet at somewhere like that.
Yeah, I'm probably going to jump on the bandwagon with Starlink. Yeah, that just makes sense. I'm getting pissed off with the providers here. Pay top dollar to get guaranteed download, and then the guarantee when it
what do you pay? What do you pay for internet a month there?
So it's actually cheaper than when you were here originally. I think we used to pay, it was like 150 or something a month. And now it's got down to like something like 50 a month with guaranteed, but they just don't live up to their promises. Yeah, that's like the best package with guaranteed minimum 25 download, and it should average like 40. And it works perfectly most of the time, but like anything here, when it goes down, they just take ages to fix it, and they don't respond, and just frustrates. Need the reliability.
50 a month is pretty good though. In Buenos Aires, I think I'm paying close to 100, just because everything's just getting out of control there. But here for Starlink, they're paying, I think, $40 for the Starlink Mini though, the Starlink Mini. So bloody cheap though. Like I thought it would just be super expensive, but no, so good. Really impressed by it. Actually saw. Sorry.
I was going to say, after I chatted to Brad, a few days ago, he's all over it as well. You can when you often get power cuts here, you can have like a box that helps smooth out that. So I'm looking into that as well, because they're not as frequent as they used to be, but you still probably get a power cut at least every month. Yeah, you'll get.
Oh, is that so?
4 hour power cut.
Yeah. Oh wow, yeah. Geez, I remember it was really frequent when we were living in Paranan. That was like I'd only spend half the month there, and there'd always be a couple during that time. But yeah, sounds like they've
like one a week. One a week was the original.
Yeah, interesting, man. I saw your interview with Brad the other day on your channel. It sounds like he loved Argentina, which is great. Great to hear.
Yeah, no, he's a big fan. Yeah, no, he was
nice.
He was all over it. Just wanted to explore more. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's I think I saw his business partner walking down the street, so that's how small the bubble can be in Buenos Aires, even though it's a city of 14 million. Yeah. There you go, mate. Let's get on to some market talk. What are you seeing at the moment, mate, with Trump being elected and still taking quite a hammering in my portfolio? How do you see it all?
Well, I think there's been nowhere to hide if you're like long all this kind of anything commodity, energy. If you haven't been in shitcoins and AI, you've pretty much hit it on the nose the last few months. I've got this. I'll see if I actually you can give me the ability to share. I just put this in my recent piece, and it just says it all for me. And I'm guilty of sharing this. I'm guilty of having put this out. I looked on my Twitter. I'm pretty sure I put this chart out in 21. Just bring it up now, and it just says it all because it's kind of embarrassing the fact that. So can you see that now?
Yeah.
That popped up.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is like US outperformance, and so had the top chart that kind of threw out, and the only thing that's changed on this bloody chart is the on the scale on the side, they've added another standard deviation. So the first one went up to 2.3, and now the bottom one's at 3.3. So you were arguing in 21, you're like, this is nuts. This is like literally were two standard deviations above where we were in internet bubble, or even Nifty 50 or another, at least standard deviation half. And all that's changed is the scale's gone up another. Yeah. So like all the arguments are kind of the same, but it's just got even more stretched. And what I've found interesting is even like you've even heard all the arguments of how to justify a lot of the stuff has kind of died down. Like how do you make the numbers for NVIDIA work? Like how do you let it grow into it? You literally can't. And then I was sharing I don't know if I can dig it up now. Probably in some deep in some folder, but there was essentially an analyst just arguing like you just have to be in AI. Profits don't matter. You've just got to You've just got to be in the race, and you've got to be spending. And
you're just too scared to miss out.
Yeah, it's cooked. The it's not too far off. So I just this is another one. Yeah, this will probably be contrarian science. Anyone haven't seen this cover? Just give up on stocks outside America.
Oh God!
You just why not invest in? This is pretty much saying why not be fully invested in Mag 7? Like just straight hindsight driving. Anyway, it's been rough not being in the stuff because everyone can just point to how well they've done.
Yeah,
like even Doge coins and shit coins have crushed it. People in Tesla have crushed it. It is
like I'm getting ripped into from crypto mates of mine in Buenos Aires who I've just always been quite anti crypto anything, and they've always just been like hammering the coins and they're killing it, like absolutely killing it. And they're I try and sound like I'm the smart one when I talk about like how important energy is for the world and like the supply demand fundamentals and the forecast, and then they just are like, oh yeah, I just put $5,000 on this like Asian boobs coin or something. It was something ridiculous and turned it into like 60,000. I'm like, what the fuck? This annoys me. How it goes.
There's just no shame in it. That's why I started my recent piece with like Dogecoin's got more market cap than the entire uranium space.
Yeah, we're back to there again though. Like we
overvalued it is. Yeah, like it's just anyway. Moaning about it doesn't change anything. It's just just keep looking at
what do we do about it?
Supply. Yeah. Just add more money to what you got conviction in. That's the other thing I've always said is like you almost just want to pat someone on the back if they make money in another area that you don't understand and don't have conviction in. All this game is finding something that you can understand and you can put serious money. Like I don't have big regrets about not like making any money in crypto because I never understood it. And so I never would have allocated enough to move the needle. Whereas something like uranium, I was willing to put like a big chunk of my net worth into it because I had conviction of what
I've got a question. I've got a question for you. Just going back a bit, like how did you originally come into investing in like resources and energy? Because for me, I I fell into it naturally from geology. But just for yourself, was it from Brad, or how did you initially get started? Because it wasn't your background, was it?
I started with it because it was literally the most hated area at that point in time, and I was obviously being mentored by Brad. So he was just seeing the old bottom crawler charts, and that's where wasn't completely energy. Like did do a bit of like banking, financials. We're in European equities originally back in the this is really in the 2015, 16, a bit of currency trading as well. And then as kind of saw the real capital starvation, the ESG really take off, got way more conviction with kind of the energy type plays kind of from 2017 on. And then from there, the portfolio just keeps shifting towards energy, and then got like really, really heavily weighted energy. And probably when we kind of met around then, and then, from there on, I just saw that was where the big opportunity was, because kind of the green movement in ESG was making it the only kind of capital starved place against a whole lot of, with all the money being thrown around, found its way into almost every other area.
I noticed you put out an article on uranium as well, Ferg, with an updated swap of positions. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts there?
So with uranium, it's tricky because I think the macro setup's still amazing, but just the way you play it's getting increasingly tough. So I obviously had really outsized positions that are growing, that I love the risk reward when I got in them at sort of like Paladin, getting into the sort of $200 million market cap. It was a no-brainer to me there. And now where it's grown to, and same with Boss, there's like a whole lot of execution risk that I have no insight into. I'm just like waiting for whatever the announcement to hear what the next problem is, or if and that's just a shitty risk reward. And so, especially when you look around with some of the stuff that's taking a smashing lately, like it's, it would be it'd still probably be doing it, but it would be a tougher call if offshore was like ripping and going higher, and to allocate to there. But the fact that having the likes of Tidewater, Valaris getting cut in half as well makes it a lot easier to just say, like, if I take away any bias of which will work first, then I want to have a more even spread across all these areas. And then I also want to consider like how to remove as much kind of as much like execution risk from like miners executing out of the portfolio as possible, because I don't have any insight on that. I've got no edge there. Kind of want to back away from those where I could get the overall thesis could be right, and you could get hammered on them just not executing or running into issues like, I don't know, costs, like we don't, like when they announce what their actual costs are, how quickly they're increasing, like and all you've got to judge on that is like how confident management have obviously sold a big chunk. You've got pretty smart people and people short stocks, so they've obviously got a lot of conviction. And then got to say, are you happy taking the other side of them? And I'm not, when I could be swapping the funds to something that either doesn't have the near-term execution risk, like something like I've increased obviously just physical holdings, or companies that have large quality reserves that aren't going to be going through any development issues for another few years, so you can play it that way. Or just shift the capital to, as I said, I'm seeing lots of opportunities. Offshore's got amazing opportunities here. The investors are just been too short-sighted. They're just freaking out when there's going to be a few quarters of shitty earnings, and then you can see by 26 it already turns around. Like it's, some of these are tripling EBITDA by 26, and it's already on the cards. So just being too short-term orientated. And I could go for a whole lot of other opportunities I'm seeing, but there's lots of interesting stuff, and I don't want to be too overweight any, because I learn from experience. I don't know what'll work when. I put a little section in my piece where I was reading some of the stuff I wrote back in 2021, and I was absolutely convinced then that uranium was going to be the thing that worked in the coming year, and I thought coal was going to be a slow grind that would
Yeah,
like work over the coming
I
years.
remember reading that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you just got to read some of your stuff to work out how wrong you were. Like I was, for anyone that doesn't know the history of that, coal went vertical within 6 months.
Yeah.
6 months of me writing that, and ended up being like the highest returning sector. And uranium did essentially nothing for another year before it had its run. So I was completely wrong in that, and it was just lucky. Obviously, had exposure to both, so did okay from it. But I've learned not to put too much weight on when I think anything will happen.
Yeah, okay. Obviously, for me, I've freed up a lot of money in Paladin. It was one of my largest positions, and I'm rotating it into Fission. Is that just because they're not going through the same sort of? Obviously, got this off the back of your article, just because I follow you into this trade, so you do a lot more research than me on this sort of stuff. So I'm pretty happy to rotate into something like Fission, but that was just because it doesn't carry the same risk as Paladin at the moment with the short setup, issues with Langer Heinrich. Is that the reason for that rotation for you?
Yes. Yes, so for me, that one is just a simple play on the merger failing. So Fission got absolutely dragged down with Paladin with the merger. So the Fission shareholders would like nothing better than for the merger to fail. And we find that out within another month. And you've seen like with the likes of NextGen, the deposits are 3Ks apart, granted Fission's not of the same quality, but it's going to make all the sense in the world to develop them together. And so they've roughly tracked each other, granted in trades at a discount to NextGen. But I just see it as an easy trade to play on the fact that we get any movement in the positive way in the uranium term price, contract price, and you'll benefit. You don't have to worry about the merger. You don't have to worry about the short sellers. You don't have to worry about the execution of bringing the mine on. Like there's a whole lot of assumptions now of Paladin. Like, is the water going to be resolved? Are the grades going to pick up with the tailings? Are there higher assumptions that they'll get when they restart the mine in June next year? Are they going to meet those? I've got no insight with all the stuff. Like, why do I want to have like a complete layer of risk? Have they got enough cash? Will they potentially with this debt facility? We don't know the interest rate for the debt facility, so I can't like model that. And when you layer all these on, and I always have like a hurdle rate in the portfolio, which at the moment I'm like looking at Tidewater. I'm like, what insight do I have when I see Tidewater as an easy double by 26? Like, why am I taking this risk? It makes absolutely no sense. And so that was the reason for moving capital out with Fission. It gives me granted, like my Fission position isn't the size of, it's a fraction of what the Paladin is because I'm spreading money out in the portfolio again, but gives you keeps some exposure to uranium and can also reassess stuff with how Paladin's ramp goes, how Boss's ramp goes. So maybe there's a scenario where the merger goes through, get back into Paladin, it becomes a consolidator, and things go well from there. It's not having to take on the level of risk that I had with a large position in it, which I was really uncomfortable with, and free up some cash, just chase a whole lot of other setups. Going back to my point that I don't know what works, so I can size up rhodium, I can size up a new trade I'm riding up at the moment that's completely uncorrelated to all of them, and I just feel a lot more comfortable with that at this point. Yeah.
Where do you think we're at with the uranium sector at the moment? I saw the John Polomy article the other day talk about how he thinks it's the Cigar Lake moment for uranium with the new Russian uranium ban. Just overall, how do you think we're sitting? It's
maybe I have PTSD from it, and they're right, but I don't see that Russian uranium ban being that big an issue on the short term, because they'll just send it via China. China will just play middleman and ensure everyone can meet. I see the US miners were trying to force US officials to have a tariff on it to reduce that pathway of the Chinese playing the middleman to smooth things over. But like I've got no insight with that either. Like it's like when you got to be careful when you go too far outside your circle of competence, like starting to talk about that. Like I think the setup's great. I'm pretty sure that the majority of the commercial inventory has been worked through. I think the utilities have to start contracting. Is that next month or is that next year? I've learned better than to think I have any insight onto that.
Because I remember when we were talking. Sorry, mate. I remember when we were talking at the start of the year, and that Kazatomprom production slash just seemed like it was, all guns go. I mean, I was feeling it as well. I was just like, geez, it's going to, like, the portfolio in uranium is going to look great in the next few months. And yeah, sure enough, here we are. But so.
Yeah, that was my big mistake. Was I obviously put the blinders on, thinking that term was gonna take off on the back of, if you want to call it like a game of musical chairs, like there was like whatever six people in the room, and the Kazatomprom was one of the chairs in the middle, and taking away a few chairs, and everyone in the room looking around and realizing the 6 people in the room, there's only 3 chairs in the middle, like. You better start fighting for your chair, and no one's fought for a chair yet. Which
it's just more pounds in the spot market than we thought. Is that ultimately what it comes down to?
Obviously, why they haven't had their hand forced is there was a lot more shit floating around than everyone gave credit for. You can go back and listen to even Mike Elkin sort of saying he thought that it was going to be tight and there was going to be some serious term contracting back in 21, and here we are. Scratching 25, and it's just a reminder. Like not shitting on them. Like no one does more research, but it's just to be very aware that no one ever really knows how much of anything's floating around. Like it's all best guesses, and it's I've often compared it to like playing blackjack. If you're counting cards, like if you're counting cards as they work down the pack, you can know your probabilities are getting more and more in your favor, but you can never really bet your whole stack early. You just know that your odds are going up till you get right to the bottom of the pack, and the odds are really in your favor, but you could still have some unlucky outcomes, and so you still have to essentially set up with all the different risk rewards, because it's just that idea that you don't know what's going to go. And that's why I kind of like using that coal example. If you'd asked me in terms of conviction, I would have been 97% sure that uranium was going to go before coal. And looking back at that makes you eat some humble pie.
Yeah, that's very interesting how it's played out there. What you did is, though, you explained it very well. So when you're talking about it, it made a lot of logical sense that it's going to be a slow grind with coal. But I remember I'm got to reread some of those articles, but I was all on board with it at the time, and luckily held both positions. I did through some of that time, but not to the full extent of what I should have. Couple of questions here from some subscribers, mate, if you don't mind.
Yep.
I've got
go for it.
Just one from Errol here. He says, could you ask Ferg if he sees any similarity with the Lassonde curve and what uranium mining stocks are doing at the moment?
I've looked at the Lassonde curve, and I think
it's just restarts are the issue here, though, right?
Yeah, well, the thing is, like I put in my recent article that, like, the first thing you got to start with is how bloody hard it is to bring on a mine. Like, everyone's just there's no one's meeting guidance. That's like the only people that are currently on track are like UEC and Boss, and that's because we don't know the numbers yet. see when they actually say their production costs. So see, there's 15% of Boss's float believes they're going to cook the numbers.
Oh, geez, yeah, that could be savage downside move there. I'm actually scared of that. I got to get fully out of Boss. Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh,
there's also the thing of how much is the market priced it in as well. Like, maybe it's less worse than the market thinks, and the shorts get burned. You don't know. Like I put below the article, like John jokingly said, like, yeah, now that you've closed positions, there will be guidance and the shorts will get lit on fire and the things will be up 20%. Yeah, I was like, yeah, of course it will. That's how the market works.
I think I remember
it has to
actually
torture you. Yeah, it has to torture you to the maximum ability. But all you can do is accept that and go with the best risk reward. You can't if you play hindsight bias all day, it'll kill you in this game. It doesn't help. So yeah, back to Errol's question. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just more thinking that you just don't want to be in the ramp up phase and take all the pain and size. Maybe you've got small positions, you can ride through it. And there is definitely the point Rick Rule made that there's a large value to people that have got big contract books and they can help finance mines with offtake agreements, which definitely Paladin's case. It's kind of weird how the market's like really beating up producers, and yet a lot of the other players that are yet to get to that phase are just cruising along nicely, like they're not going to have to go through it themselves. Like the likes of Next Gen's already had its cost increase 70%, and it's still a few years out. It all adds into the fact that the incentive price of uranium is going to be well north of 120. And I've had some people push back on that. Like, what do you mean?
That's
like,
interesting.
90 in your original. Yeah, 90 in your original when I wrote Avoiding the Monkey Trap. And the simple response to that is just plug 90 into a inflation calculator in 2020 and you're already at 110.
That's actually funny. But yeah, it was just pretty much spot on.
Before you
just inflation.
Yeah, before you assume like staffing, like where are all these people going to come from that have uranium experience? If you hold the similar view that I do, that energy prices are going to head higher, which will feed into inflation, I could easily see a similar period again through to 2030 from what we had in 2020 to 2024, like another 20% jump in inflation. Yeah, so.
Geez, I tell you what, it's so harsh. It's so hard holding Australian dollars at the moment and spending in a foreign currency. Geez, I'm getting completely murdered in Argentina every time I spend Aussie dollars. I think we're down to the lowest level in the last few years against the US dollar, and that just kind of ricochets through to Argentina, where they're doing really well against the US dollar, which never happens, but just since Malay's come in.
Yeah.
So I just paid for a meal then. In Barriella, it was just a schnitzel, a few tomatoes, and a couple of eggs. 30 Aussie dollars just for that. I couldn't believe it. Like once upon a time, a year ago, that meal would have been like 5 to 10 Aussie dollars. It's just crazy. I just noticed these holding anything and spending in Australian dollars right now is super painful. Another one about Trump being elected, mate. What do you think he's going to do with oil production in the States?
So I ultimately think he can't do that much of the big picture. Sure, he can pull a few levers and get a few get a few of the real environmental roadblocks and get some pipelines running. So there is definitely a short-term boost on the back of that. But I kind of think the best analogy with it is like how he was kind of saying the last time around he got elected that he was going to bring coal back and nothing happened. It's ultimately driven by economics, and I just think the writing's on the wall with shale. They've high graded it. They've got efficiency super high, which has allowed them to high grade quicker. The stuff's getting really shale's getting really gassy and not going to be able to grow, and developing market demand's going to keep grinding higher. And for me, like, keep everyone getting really bearish with Trump's sort of drill baby drill. I think that'll prove to be overly optimistic. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, he's been shocking for my portfolio. Just this stuff he's doing by threatening tariffs is bad enough alone without even enforcing the tariffs. So I find it funny. Like, I'm not anti-Trump in what he does against the woke agenda and everything, but I'm anti-Trump in tariffs. I think they're just genuinely a bad idea, and I've seen it ruin a country, which is the one I'm living in now. So I always find it funny when you get all these Malay supporters that are just like passionate, diehard Trump supporters as well. They like literally walk around with like a Trump shirt on, and it's like, hang on a minute, you do realize like the economic principles are polar opposites. I just find it funny.
You got to remember Trump as well. He's always going to take a strong stance to then negotiate from that point. So a lot of this is kind of like the art of the deal. He's like, I'm gonna tariff you, I'm gonna tariff you, I'm gonna tariff you, and then when he comes in, he's aiming to achieve some middle ground that's kind of beneficial to both. Probably try and get the factories moved to US. Try and it's a lot of talk at the start, so it'll be more interesting to see where things actually land. And
it's just that initial
tank the dollar.
You think he's going to tank the US dollar? Yeah, bloody strong.
There's
last few days.
No other option, really. Yeah.
I remember. Well, it just the threats alone. Like, you just see, like, the market react to as soon as he opens his mouth about tariffs. Boom! Like, Mexico, Canada, the Canadian stock exchange is horrendous right now. Don't know how much money you have invested there, mate, but have you seen the sort of trend for all the Canadians wanting to list on the Aussie, especially in mining and resources? I think Friedland's about to do it with one of his companies, delist on Canada and move over there. Yeah, it's just crazy. Like, a company I'm out here with now, just having such a hard time of it. They're on the CSE, which is the Canadian Securities Exchange. It was like originally like a weed exchange when the weed boom happened a few years ago, growing weed. And they thought it would be good to list there a few years ago. And since then they've changed the CEO, and he's just had to deal with the primary listing there. And it's been so hard to get, like, raise money, get any interest in it. And then when, like, I can't even buy it on Interactive Brokers, and like, you're missing out on a huge portion of retail from Australia that can't even have access to it, which love to fund exploration. So yeah, it's just kind of seeing what's happening and talking to him. It's very interesting. It sounds like Canada's fucking a lot of trouble there.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because all of this is the other side of no one even caring about the supply side a few years out. It's like the uranium story is like that sort of 25% deficit has to be solved, and there's going to have to be greenfields to solve it, and they kind of have to be capitalized, but no one gives a shit because they're all too busy chasing meme coins and throwing their money at them.
That's just what it's just going to take crazy prices, right, in the physicals to see this happen. It hasn't happened to gold yet. Obviously, gold keeps ripping to all-time highs, but gold juniors just can't get any bloody love. And
let me show you. I think that here, it's now that I've said I'll find it, I'll probably have a rough time finding it. But there's this chart that essentially the entire, for all the hate that juniors get, the whole sector's been in massive decline for over a decade now, for like 2 decades. And a lot of the stuff we've found is just been handed around in like M&A. So like,
that's all. It changes hands.
What you're it just changes hands. Like, it's kind of like what we've seen in coal. Like, everyone's just playing hot potato with stuff, but there's not actually much being added to the overall. Let's see if I can find it. It's and the sort of the commodities that are loved are getting a lot of this one. Okay, so let me bring up this. Yeah, so it's just this idea that kind of like grassroots exploration since like 97, it's just been, so at one point you can see in 1997
Yeah.
it was 50%, and you had late stage feasibility. What would that be? That would be like 30%, and then
Yeah, it's
obviously
just
mine
in
site.
decline.
And yeah, and so
Look at it pick
you've
up
got,
over 2021. Do you remember that time, 2020 to 2021? That was when like anyone could get an IPO field in Australia, like any
yeah,
resource company that listed could just walk down like in anywhere in Perth, Melbourne, or Sydney and just be like, I've got a project somewhere. Can you fund it? They'd just be like, yep, 5 million, done.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. Well,
Yeah, look at
this just goes hand in hand with see, I know I've got some charts in this folder that reinforce it, but anyone that's like followed any of my stuff knows that I love throwing around like the likes of Kazatomprom, how their supply just falls off a cliff. You've got
oh yeah,
here
yeah.
within the whole PGM space, like the where is it? I'll find this chart. Yeah, here, this one. So you've got the fact that this is kind of key to the whole Uranium thesis.
Oh,
You've just
wow,
got
look at that.
no one worrying at all about the fact that that by 2030, it just all all the quality stuff in South Africa just falls off a cliff, and it's below all the cost of production. So they're actually like shuttering mines and taking stuff offline. They're not worried about fixing this at all. And this is like, yeah, central to my rhodium outlook, is the fact that a lot of this is where like has extraordinarily high rhodium splits, and rhodium's kind of always a byproduct of either palladium or platinum. And so, yeah, I just love filling the portfolio with stuff like this, where I see demand holding up and I see this just rapid drop off in 2030. And obviously I'm getting beaten up at the moment because supposedly inflation's dead. You don't need to worry about any supply stories. You can just hang out in meme coins. Something like Dogecoin, which is literally a joke coin and can be printed limitlessly. My God, that's a magic company hack.
I tell you what, it is so hard. It's so hard to deal with my mates in Buenos Aires about this at the moment. Like, especially got a couple of good mates that are just like I can't believe how much money they've got from this, man. Like they'll bring up their like Phantom wallet or whatever it is. It's on the app, and it's like one of the dudes just like $1 million US, and just like, how the fuck did he end up with that much money? It's just crazy to think. Oh, but yeah, I'm just bitter. Like I'm the mug at the end of the day.
Well, the thing with that is not to worry too much, because if they've made that much, often they're speculating hard, and are they even going to know when to pull the pin and get out and realize it?
I
you
reckon
make that much money, often it gets addictive, and then you roll it in the next shitcoin. And yeah,
exactly.
If you're rolling from shitcoin to shitcoin, that's like bragging about your track record in Russian roulette. I reckon.
It's just so funny when you talk to them, they just say, "Oh, it's always good." It's like, "Oh no, we're not even at the end yet. It's going to double by next year." Like just their mentality about it. Like you can't get a thesis out, you can't get any like logical explanation, but they got plenty of money. So yeah, they're sitting on a good paperwork.
Well, it's also this idea inflation's dead. Yeah, that's the big one. It's the fact inflation's back to the inflation's been tamed. And I just see this as like, this is that period between waves. You look at any history, it always comes in waves. There's always a big wave, and then the rate of change comes down, and then there's even a bigger wave. Because nothing's been fixed. Everything that's going on around the world's inflationary. It's just just wait.
You're still big on gold, on physical gold. Still a fan of the disparity between the paper market and physical.
Yeah, I still like it, but I ended up playing it kind of via PGMs, because I think the undervaluation of PGMs to gold is just ridiculous, and I think maybe everyone just like gold too much at this point, and I just love something like rhodium, where just a few people even take notice of it, it will it can absolutely multi-bag. And I see the downside is pretty limited. I love the chart. And when it comes to like allocating money, and I can't bring myself to just, I don't want to buy gold miners. I don't want to, when I'm seeing this many opportunities, I can't bring myself just to put money into physical gold and storage. That just kind of doesn't offer the risk reward that I think something like Rhodium or even PGMs do here. And so, yeah, I still love the outlook in gold, but I just think the risk reward is so much better in PGMs, in particular Rhodium.
Yeah, cool. Just wanted to know because primarily working for a gold exploration company here now, we're not actually going to look for anything copper. So I want the physical to be solid while we're exploring here. But yeah, I think a lot of people in the space, it doesn't matter hugely with these micro cap exploration companies unless it's like lithium or something at the moment. But I think it has to matter the fundamentals of the commodity you're looking for. Like imagine like trying to look for lithium right now or nickel or some of these battery metals. I think it'd be you could kind of like how hard it is to find a good project anyway, and then have the commodity fundamentals just kind of shatter any success you have. That's how I see it. Like, that's why I want to.
You're in a junior mining stock. You're long investor enthusiasm because you need the funding and you need the continued funding. Like they are not going to be in.
Well, it's hard enough it's hard enough if you raise money. Even harder, obviously, if you get commodities in the toilet. So, it's. I hear a lot of smart people talk about some commodities which I think are doomed, but could be wrong. Very smart geologists talk about these beautiful projects and everything, and like the target they're about to drill. And I'm just like, Jesus, it's where I don't want to be in this space. So,
there's no such thing. I don't think there's many doomed commodities. There's just commodities that have to keep getting cheaper till they find their economic use case. And I think that's the better way to look at it. Like there's
I think it's a better way to explain it. Makes sense.
Yeah, it will be a bargain and it will be cyclical. And when it gets so cheap that we can lithium-ion batteries will make sense in a whole lot of applications. When it gets so cheap, it's just, I think it's not the levels everyone thought it was. Yeah.
Yeah, and all the money that's also been invested in it, which will probably just keep that market depressed for a while. Well, let's see. But anything else we can talk about, Ferg? I think I covered all the questions. There's just one more here that we did kind of talk about. If you were to pick any miner to invest in right now, what would it be?
So one that I'm interested in, I don't own it yet, but I'm interested in how this plays out, is the fact that with PGMs, have Anglo that's still trying to clean up its balance sheet to concentrate on copper and iron ore. They have said they'll offload Amplats by second quarter next year, and they still own 73% company, and it's not a lot of liquidity there. So I don't know how they're going to get it off their balance sheet without depressing the price. And so I think that, and that they're like they're one of the lower cost producers in the space. So maybe that's what kind of spin out / dumps that we get in the commodity space, where it's just an absolute bargain. Like if anyone wants to see Anglo's history with us, they obviously, I think they got a good deal recently with Peabody.
What is your thoughts on the Peabody deal? So are you still holding Peabody at quite a large position, or have you scaled that one back?
I am, but I'm reconsidering it because now I just have a whole lot of overlap risk. Like my whole portfolio is skewed towards met, when originally I wanted it kind of even distribution between met and thermal, and got a whole lot more exposure to Australia than I probably wanted, considering their history with royalties and the fact that the royalties really take a lot of the heat out of the if coal prices run. So I am reconsidering, potentially rebalancing my allocation. I find some of the US names will actually do a lot better. They've got longer mine lives. They're not molested with royalties.
So you mean moving out of like the likes of Whitehaven, New Hope, Danmore?
No, this would be lightening up on Peabody, because they've got quite a lot more debt. They've got a lot more, and redistributing to some of the US names I like and some of the thermal names I like. Probably head for the exit on Peabody. I haven't decided how to do this. It's kind of a research project. Once I finish my current piece, I've always got too much stuff I want to deep dive into. But it's interesting now. Like if you started off with or like I did, I've got heavy weightings in Peabody and Whitehaven. Both of them started off I think Whitehaven was 2/3 Newcastle, 1/3 Met, and Peabody was I think it was like half, not even half, maybe like 60-40, with the 60 being thermal, the domestic US stuff, and now they're like 75% Met, and they've got a lot of got a whole lot of operational risk. Can they bring this all on? They've still got the royalties to hold them down. They've got a lot of debt financing. They if prices hold up, they do okay here, but if they pull back, they're in trouble. So I'm thinking it's not nearly as attractive. It's not nearly as attractive as the Whitehaven deal, put it that way. So I'll probably hang on to Whitehaven and maybe up a whole lot of other stuff. And we're also seeing the start of a cold winter in Northern Hemisphere. So
that's interesting.
I'll be pissed if that goes. And then you got to layer on top of this. This is pretty much me outlining a whole piece I've got in my head that I've still got to write. I think you got like a near-term catalyst in the Northern Hemisphere. So I want to have, and what you've seen in Indonesia for the longer term. So you got near-term coin flip, maybe a cold winter, no one's prepared for. So you do really well on high grade coal, and longer term, low grade coal would be the ones throwing capex at it to fill the gap, and that they've turned completely green. Not completely green, but they're talking a big green game, and they really are. Finance is drying up for all the Indonesian coal companies, so they're not going to be the saviors. So I see the long-term thermal looking great. So I'm questioning, like, by the acquisitions of the people, I've got really skewed towards Met, and more popular when you should be leaning towards the thing that's still hated. Like even the likes of young coals trying to chase down. Still, they missed out on Anglo assets, and now they're trying to chase down Kestrel, another never met mine. So they're trying to get met coal. Everyone's trying to get met coal, which makes me think I should probably be really leaning into thermal.
Into thermal, okay, right. Oh, that'll be an interesting one for sure. Especially if that winter plays out.
To round out that, and to round this out, like young coal got absolutely punished.
Yeah. Oh shit, my internet's going to shit.
About going after Anglo.
Yeah.
The lows of where they got smacked.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Very interesting. I remember we were talking about the cold winter thing a year ago, actually, when we were doing these chats. Didn't come out like that. It was a bloody warm one. So what was I going to say? Just on before I'll let you get on with your day, what are your thoughts on the Singapore offshore drillers still? I saw Namchong had a release out on quarterly earnings and they were bloody solid, and then the stock got dumped. So any thoughts there?
Yeah, I just think you got to see through all of this. Yeah, it's
just one person exiting, or
it's a liquid, and I don't know if you're in the stuff to hope to get a good quarter. Yeah, you're not going to have much fun.
probably the best way to say it ever. Probably the best way to say it is right there. If you're in this to have a good quarterly, that is so relatable to many sectors right here, right now. Yeah, makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, well, I think I had this. So if you bring up in Koifin, you can actually see what analysts are seeing for each for what the average EBITDA is looking out like a another year or two. And so like take, I don't know, I'll just put one up. I had take Valaris if you want to play this game. And so Valaris has been essentially cut it in half. And these are just analyst averages. And so you look at can you see that now?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And so obviously they're all leaning to the low end for EBITDA for this year. Sort of gonna it's why the stock's obviously been smashed. So everyone's pissed off with low oil prices. Utilization kind of stalled out. If you're prepared to look forward to 26, which obviously no one is, no one cares that much.
It's a great image there.
You're tripling EBITDA. Obviously,
geez, that's a really good spot actually. It's a good one to bring up.
You're down to like cold level EV multiples, and this is obviously all assuming oil stays where it is. This is assuming they've also got a lot of contracts that they can roll probably a little bit further out from this. It'd be more like a late 26 story, but yeah, you're already down at that EV multiple, and you can play this game with pretty much most of the offshore sector, and everyone's just like, fuck this for the next shitty year, but
just add to it. And
the market works by looking forward. You don't. If you're always playing for the next quarter or next 6 months, you can have a horrible time. I always like the analogy what Mark said. He said you never catch a bus if you run from bus stop to bus stop trying to arrive just at time for the bus. Whereas if you understand the schedule and you just sit and wait at your bus stop, you always catch a bus. So that always stuck with me.
Got it. Sitting on your hands. It's the hardest thing to do for anyone. Yeah. So, mate, great chat again. I really appreciate it. Just want to tell people what you're working on now, what your next article is going to be? Is it the coal one, or have you got one before that?
So I got one that's probably halfway through probably not even halfway, a third way through Offshore. And I'm also writing on a trade that I love the setup now. It's kind of like taking the other side of the whole US outperformance. And it's nothing to do with energy at all. Commodities at all.
Okay.
And so I'm finding that angle really interesting. So I'm just working through that now. So hopefully have that out in the next week.
No, sounds great, mate. Thanks a lot for joining us, and I'll catch up with you in a month's time.